We're back, episode 40. On today's episode, I got to chat to Jon Wynn. Jon is Australian Special Forces military, currently in the top 15 elite Hyrox athletes. Jon got involved in Hyrox a couple of years ago, currently resides in Spain. Jon and I got into some interesting topics about his early days of Hyrox, the type of training he was doing, the type of training he's doing now. Jon's also a Hyrox coach. He go down into some areas of, the volume of training he was doing earlier on, his strengths and weaknesses, what he's currently working on, and what his goals are in Hyrox. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Jon Wynn. All right, joined by Jon Wynn today, Hyrox athlete. We're just chatting a bit off air, so we won't sort of dabble too much around the edges. But thanks for joining me, Jon. Appreciate your time.
No, it's great to be here. I love coming on and doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, it's good. And I've found a really good response from Hyrox athletes. I think because the sport's so new, I've reached out to a few athletes and they're like, yeah, I'll jump on with you. Where in a lot of other sports, when they've been around so long, people aren't still that sort of keen to do podcasts. It's been really good.
I guess so, yeah. I guess so. And like everyone's trying to grow their own brand and personal brand, and it's so new and there's so many takes on it. And a lot of people chime into stuff like this to hear what other people are doing. And it's like, what are they doing? Because it's still so new. There needs to be more science and more experience to come behind this, and people really want to find out what other people are doing so they can incorporate themselves into their own programming.
That's the great thing about the sport, because it is so new. No one's actually worked out the formula yet. It's going to take some time, right?
Yeah, it's going to take time. And if you look at all the top guys, like what we're doing, it all works, but we're all doing something different. So, yeah, it's like, I guess it'd be similar to like how CrossFit started, where now it's been going that long. There's a bit of an art to it, right? And once there's more money behind it, and then more science and resources comes to it, and then it can develop and evolve even more.
Yeah, 100%. What did you? I think did you say you grew up in Newcastle? That's what I heard on a podcast somewhere.
Yeah, I was born in Newcastle, so I spent my first couple of years there. All my family, my dad's side of the family, they're all from there. They're all fishermen on Lake Macquarie.
Oh, nice.
So we were there in Belmont. I moved away from there when I was about 3, I think it was 3 or 4.
Where did you move to?
So from there, we moved to Deniliquin. Mm-hmm. So down Denny, which is down, I think it's famous for like the Ute muster, down on the Victorian border. So we were there for a couple of years, and then we're at Narrandera. So went a little bit more north. Okay. I think it was, yeah. So my old man was he was a fisherman, but then he went turned fisheries inspector. So we had to move around every couple of years. So that's where he got posted. So that's basically why we're down there on the Murrumbidgee. Sure. Yeah.
And what sports did you play growing up? Aussie rules, like being down there?
No. It's funny, like down there, everyone played it. Like I think I started at soccer, and then I went from soccer to athletics. So little athletics, it was called. So I started that quite young, and then rugby league. So I did maybe 1 year at soccer, and then I wanted to be a bit more physical. So I went to rugby league. And looking back, I think there was it's what my group of friends were doing at that age. Even though I was so young, I think that's just your sort of mob mentality. I went to rugby league, and it was pretty much rugby league and athletics ever since I was.
Yeah, similar to me. I played Aussie rules, and funny, I went to soccer for 1 year as well. I wanted to play soccer for some reason, then realised I wasn't very good at it because I couldn't tackle people.
Yeah, I prefer the physical side. Yeah, like soccer was a bit more skill, I guess, and league was a bit more grunt. I guess you could be a bit more aggressive and didn't need quite so skill. You just needed to be a little bit tough. So I think it maybe suited me a little bit more as well.
Yeah, exactly the same. And then I was also track athletics, and probably like where you were. You either, when I grew up, the school I went to, you either played football in the winter and cricket in the summer. I couldn't stand cricket. I just found it the most boring, ridiculous game known to man. So I ran track as well.
Okay. Yeah. What were your distances?
400s.
Okay.
But I then kind of got a little bit better at Aussie rules, and then went off to one of the AFL teams trying to get drafted. Didn't make the draft, got cut when I was 20 or 21. Played for another 6 or 7 years, and then as soon as I got to a point where I was 28, I'd had enough. I went back to track. So I'm in my 50s, mid-50s. I only retired from track at 48.
Oh, wow.
So I ran fours up until 48.
How's your hammies going at 48 doing 400s?
You know what? They were still good. I've been one of those athletes. I got through unscathed. I snapped a hamstring, snapped one playing Aussie rules, but it healed and I could sprint with it. But I was good. What stopped me in the end was Achilles problems.
Okay.
Just that, hitting the track so hard. But running fours is a challenge.
Yeah, like growing up, like doing athletics as well. Like I was a thrower, and I did a few decathlons when I got older. But I was just running is not my strength. It wasn't my strength, and it still isn't compared to runners. But I'm okay now. Yeah. But for those track sessions, like 1s, 2s, 4s, they used to bust me. Yeah, like I'd be so sore after doing those. My muscle fiber is not fast. it's a slow. Yeah, they used to knock me around a bit, but I started doing faster stuff in the last couple of years, and every time I've gone fast, I've ruptured a calf. Every time I've done track sessions fast.
As you've got older?
Yeah, it's just the last 2 years. Well, I never really put dedicated for running training, right? So I've never, like when I was younger, I was a kid, but I was a thrower and a jumper, but it was running was just for doing drills and just turning up on the day and having the crack. But it wasn't until I started doing Hyrox where I'm like, okay, I'm going to become like a middle distance runner. And I based on my training of becoming like a 10K runner, but it's still not fast. I don't do 100s, 200s. Because as I said, the last 2 summers I've got injured doing this. So I've got to be.
It's interesting that you say that. How old are you, John? Like late 30s?
38 this year.
Yeah. During my 20 years at the track, and I coached for 10 years, and I was lucky. I had some really good masters athletes, but some good runners. I was with one of my buddies today, and we're just laughing about times. He's 56 now, but at about 44 or 45, he ran a 2-minute 800. He's run 33 for 10K. He's run a 2:38 marathon. His wife has run 2:32 for marathon. So
nice.
Some good runners. She won a common medal many years ago in Auckland. And all the athletes we saw that joined track later, probably post 35, all got calf injuries.
Yeah.
It's that conditioning of those fibers of your lower leg, because as soon as you're up on those toes, I believe, and you're pushing off and just that load on that lower leg, if they were an overstrider, didn't have great technique, they would often get hamstring problems. But you saw so many calf issues in the guys over 35 that hadn't run for a while.
Yeah. Something I used to do a lot of was plyometrics. And I know when I started to do it last time, this is where things started to get really tight. And then I started doing a bit faster stuff. And then this was last year, then the calf went again. So I know there's plyometrics are probably pretty important for me to try to incorporate back in. They have that elasticity and that bounce and being able to get through with a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for?
A little bit more power or something, or
safely. So I can safely do it and not just one day trying to go and run fast or jump off something, and I just go. Yeah, so I want to start incorporating a bit more plyometrics because I was quite good at it, and then I just went away from it. Yeah.
And just an observation, recommendation. I think why sprinters can go sometimes so long with and I say this all the time. Our best athlete, I still believe, is probably Kathy Freeman. And she trained at my track down in Melbourne. Well, she had 10 years of probably no injuries, and if you do 10 years of injury free and you're a fairly good athlete, it's a good run. Yeah. But I think the one thing, and you would know about this, but it's maybe something you haven't done, is all the drills that sprinters do.
Yeah.
Just those, the butt kicks and the high knee drills, that gives you that lower leg sort of conditioning without massive load. Yep. And if you just extend those drills, and that's the one thing we saw with the guys that joined us later in life, we would try, they just wanted to run. We'd try and hold them back and say, please just drill for a few weeks and just then do some run throughs and just build up. But those drills just give you that sort of, nice bounce. And we would always do them on the grass as well and take a little bit of load out of your legs.
We're actually over here in Mallorca. We're running a Hyrox camp. So we've got a couple coming up over the next month. And when we ran our first one a little while ago, I ran the track session, and I had to go back into when I was a kid, like when I was a youth, like all my running drills. And then I was, instructing these guys with what I grew up with. I was like, I really need to do this more. Like all the principles, like they haven't changed. Yeah.
No,
So
exactly.
that warm up, which goes for about 20 minutes of just progressing through the drills and ending up, go through plyometrics and then the run throughs and all that. I should do it more.
Yeah, I tend to when and I'm nowhere near your level of Hyrox, so I just sort of got into it. I did one last year in Sydney, turned me inside out. But I use the drills in the gym on the sled track when I've got a fairly tough session. I still do my track drills in the gym just to get warmed up. I do feel like it's a really good primer still, particularly the Hyrox movements are quite aggressive, particularly the sled and whatever else. So and then if you go jumping straight onto the treadmill, so I find it primes you pretty well. So it's interesting.
Yeah. I think getting back to athletics, yeah. So athletics, I think it's the base for all sport, right? To run, to jump, to throw, and it's if you can do those basics well, you can do a lot of sports. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I agree. So when you say you're not a runner, is this just something you've recently got back into, or because you're running some pretty reasonable times?
Yeah, they're reasonable for Hyrox. Yeah, definitely. And for right now, the current crop of athletes, so like the elite guys. Now, give it a few years, I think it's going to get faster. I guess what I'm better at is probably the compromised running. I think I'm one of the guys who's closest to their top end speed, but I can do it compromised. But yeah, like running, growing up, like I played footy, like league, you run 10, 15 meters, and I was a forward as well. So, and then played sort of second row lock when I was a little bit older, so a bit more running. But yeah, I didn't like when I went through the military. You obviously had to be able to run okay. You had some testing to do, which was, I guess, in sort of middle distance or endurance, I guess, like 2.4s and 3.2 Ks. But I was never like the fastest guy. I was always in the top 15, 20% of guys, but I was never great. And it wasn't really too. I decided to do Hyrox, and I found it over here in a gym when I was wrestling. And I found it in the gym and decided I wanted to do it because it looked tough and it reminded me of the military. But about 2 years before that, I had knee surgery. And the doctor said the only time I'd run again is if I have an osteotomy and get this neck surgery that they recommended. And I didn't want to do that. So I'd been lifting weights for quite some time, trying to get stronger once I entered sort of recovery for addiction. And then I just learnt, I self-taught myself how to progressively overloaded running, which is not really that hard when you think about it. But I did this over the course of 8-10 weeks and then did my first Hyrox. But that was my first time I've ever really practiced or trained for running middle to long distances.
Wow. What sort of time do you run over 10K?
So I've done 2 10K races. I did one 2 years ago and I did a 37, and then I did it again, the same race last year, and I did a sub 36. So 35.
Wow.
50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know some of the elite athletes are going a bit harder than that in the, like obviously Hunter said he's down around 33s or 34s.
Some of the guys
However, as you said, if you can do that compromised running, I interviewed Sam Bilby the other day, and she's a good runner. She can run a 37 10K still at 49. She ran one only a month ago, or a couple of months ago. But she's saying that she can't do the compromised running. She said after each station, she's just spent. So her running, she said, I'm probably as good as any of the female runners, she said, but I can't, just go from one. So it's really interesting.
You got to take damage and you got to be able to back it up. So like I'll average that sub 36 I did, which if I went and give me 4 weeks to sort of prime up a bit, I'd go faster than that now. So I've just got more time on my legs, but that puts me at like 3:36 a kilometre. And now in a Hyrox, I'll average about 3:45 to 3:48, so only about 10 seconds slower.
Yeah.
And then you look at some of these other guys who might be averaging like 3:10. but they're running like 340, 335. So they've got better high end speed, but they're still really good compromised runners. But if I can try to get my top end down even more, I think that would benefit me more. But it's just hard if you're just doing running training to be a runner, then you're losing out on the strength and all the other stuff which we need to focus on. It's such a you got to weigh up like everything we're doing, and where do you focus more on? It's tough.
Yeah, well, I agree. Where do you put that energy, and where do you actually? I mean, I think for most people to get around a Hyrox, I went into it with virtually no running.
Yep.
I hadn't I'd been living in the mountains, Colorado, skiing a ton. Did a bit of running over there. Killed me trying to run. I lived at 3,000 meters. Ridiculous trying to run at that altitude.
Yeah.
And then got some running under my belt here, but look, it was just hard. And the compromise, the once I was actually going okay, then I hit the burpees and I just hit the wall. And then after the lunges, hit the wall. So I need to really work on that. I'm keen to actually do a few more. I do like the training, and I wish it was something I had when I was younger as well, because, again, playing Aussie rules, you run for 2 hours.
Yeah, I think this, like the AFL player, I said this, I think on probably my first podcast, when it was going to Australia, and they said, how do you think Australia would do? And I said, there's a lot of AFL players that will do really well at this. Like, they're all middle distance runners, and they can take a banging. And essentially, when you come out of these stations, a sled pull, these lunges, it's like you've been working in a scrum on like mauling and stuff like this. So it's definitely once these type of athletes find this and then come into it, it's going to be competitive.
Yeah, I agree. I think a high level AFL player could do really well. They've got the strength.
They do really well.
Yeah. It's interesting. I heard Hunter interviewed some time ago, and someone asked him about the better athletes, and a few people come up with it. And I do agree. He said, some cross country skiers come into it because they've just got such big engines, but they've also got the strength, and they've just got pure mental toughness. I mean, those guys are insane.
Yeah. It's a combination of all this, because you look at the time domain of this event. It's like under 60 minutes if you're really good, really, really good, but most 60 to 90 minutes. It's a long time to be up, like if your heart rate's so high, it's tough. It's tough to, like it's like the way that the time domains work is perfectly right for the like that, 87 to 93% heart rate max. Like you can only really sustain that theoretically for like 60 minutes. They're the best athletes in the world. So this by the end of it, you're spent. You're done. Like you've done you've done damage to yourself.
Yeah. What's your what do you average heart rate for an event? What's your PB, by the way? 58.40?
No, I've done a sub 57. Yeah.
50. Okay.
Yeah. So last season I did that. It's just a little bit tough for us this year. Well, not tough. Like when you race grid. So when you race at these big events, it's always generally going to be a little bit slower if you would compare it to racing on an open course, because like when you do burpees, you've got to go up and turn around and back. You don't just have straight laps. And with farms carry, you've got to add 30, 40 seconds more because you've got to turn on the spot. There's no just direct lines. Everything's back and forth. So you got to add a little bit more time. But I did a 50, just over 57 in Stockholm. But I've done a 56, 50 something in Malaga. So I'm due to I race this next weekend in Cologne, and I'm going to have to run a sub 56 to win that at least. Yeah.
I know you've been sick a little bit as well. We'll get back to that in a moment because I'm just interested in what you've done, and I've got some questions for you there. But what's your average heart rate for an event?
I've never worn my heart rate monitor in a race. I've had it on my watch, but you can't really trust that. It will give you a bit of a gauge, but But in training, I'll sit my max in a training, which you got to add a little bit more because in a competition, you just go so much harder. But I'll sit. It says around 168 to 169, but I'll hit a max of like 185, 186. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been. My heart rate is still really high off my watch. I haven't worn a strap for a while. I can still go to 200. I shouldn't be able to. I'm hoping I'm not going to die doing this, by the way.
Yeah.
But I can still, I go an average of an hour, a sort of a solid work in the gym. I'm 170, 176.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've clearly I operate more efficiently at a higher heart rate. And it seems to, I've just been trying to do a bit more research about that, about stroke volume of the heart and VO2 max. And
Yeah.
it just would appear that because I cannot run at a lower heart rate. And I don't know if I've ever been able to, even though I've run a 36 or 37 10K as well, but I've never worried about heart rate. There was no heart rate monitors back then. You just ran.
Just go by feel. Yeah.
You put your finger on your pulse and if you can count it, great. If you can't, you can't.
Yeah. No, it's the heart rate is interesting. Like since I got into Hyrox, I'm looking at data, HRV, heart rate, and all that, and I tracked it. And when I got sick about a month before I raced in Vienna, and I couldn't do much high end stuff because every time I did it, I just got sicker. So I was fighting this battle of just doing easier, moderate stuff. And then I raced in Vienna, and my heart rate, I could just tell it was so high. And when I was in the sled push, I started to get a bit blurry, and that usually happens at the wall balls because I'm so fatigued and my heart rate is just so jacked. But it happened then, and basically when I come away from that event, I said, all right, I need to recover, but I'm gonna test to see what my heart rate's doing. But just before I got sick, I did a session where I did a kilometer at threshold, so in 60-second recovery, and I did that 12 times. And I had an average heart rate of like 167 and a max of 184, I think it was. And then I did exactly the same session after Vienna. So after being sick and not being able to do high-end stuff, and my exact same session, same treadmill, and I hit a max heart rate of like 200. And then my average heart rate was like 176. So I was like, I'm working so much more. No wonder I blew up. But now I'm below what I was. Within 2 months, I've done enough work where now my average heart rate is lower than at a faster speed. So it is trainable, but you need to, again, work hard to get that heart rate down, and just constant. Yeah. It's so much training and so much discomfort to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of zone 2 work? Like just
I have in the past. Basically how I do things now, I'll have 2 easy days, 2 easy moderate days, and basically they'll be like brick sessions where I'll bike into a run. Yeah, so they're pretty much just my zone 2s. But in off seasons and stuff like that, yeah, I will. But right now I'm at the point of the season where I need intensity. Of course. I need intensity. Like I've built everything I can. I need to layer it with, build that peak up more. Yeah.
Do you do your bike in the gym, or is that out the road?
Just I'll be on my balcony, a little shitty I got there's no watts or anything like that. I just use heart rate, heart rate strap. But I will use the bike at the gym as well. Like I like going and doing spin classes, to be frank. So I like the music and the good atmosphere, and basically I'll do them there. But I also do some harder work on bikes as well, bike intervals, which I finished a block up a few weeks ago, which was quite tough. Yeah.
Do you use the roll and the ski erg for any of this work as well, or do you purely just use those in your Hyrox training?
In different phases.
Have you done a long session on the? Have you done a long session on the row or on the ski erg?
Yeah. In the off season last year, I was doing. I named it. It's quite common now, the name, but mixed modality. So I would go in for 4 hours and I'd do an hour assault bike, 30-minute ski, 30-minute row, hour assault bike, 30-minute ski, 30-minute row, and I'll do things like this. But I don't really need to do that right now. But I do that in the start of the season.
Boring, yeah, sure.
Boring, burns a lot of calories. You get to eat big after it, but like all that stuff I do at the front half of the season.
Yeah, I would struggle with that. I think I'll struggle with getting back into this, even just going for, I can run 10K again, but having that sprinting for such a long time, and, trying to explain to everyone as a track runner, 400-meter run, the furthest I would run would be 300 meters at training, and then I'd lay down on the track for 3 minutes. Yeah. And then I run another one.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different energy system, right?
Very. Yeah, I could go full lactic all the time, but
You'll
You know,
see
then
in Hyrox there's inexperienced runners who will treat the first kilometer like it's a 1K race, and then they're
yeah,
done. Like
yeah,
they're not coming back. Yeah, you got to be
yeah,
able to pace this. Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. Um, obviously the sled push and pull. I found it relatively easy. It was actually one of my better stations. Particularly the pull, I actually had a pretty good time in it, but I have seen a lot of people struggle with that, and there's definitely some technique to it. And I noticed nearly everyone now has changed to this like forearm style technique where they're more over the sled as
like
opposed to having their arms out
is it for the push or the pull?
for the push.
Oh, the
And
push. Yeah,
the pull, it seems to be changing as well. Again, I noticed I used like a two-step pull back. I think
yep,
even I did see a lot of people still just trying to pull hand over hand, but
yeah.
it is interesting. I was chatting to Sam Bilby, and I was online the other day, and some girl was asking a few questions, and she's got I forget the women's weight, but for the seat, is it 100 kilos total for the women?
Pro or open?
Open.
Open. I think 75. I think 75. I think.
Yeah, I
I
can't
think.
recall, but anyway, this girl
Yeah,
only
I'm ready.
weighed 48 kilos.
Yeah.
You know, and when you think about that, I mean, my girlfriend's only 52 kilos, and she's fortunate. She's actually quite strong. She could still move the sled, but so but I noticed there's a guy that's just come into it, and I don't know his name. I think he's Italian, but he lives in the US, and he's come third or fourth in a couple of the events, but he's obviously got an extremely good running background. And I think in his first sled push and pull, I think he was something like 6 minutes or 7 minutes to push the sled.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. If you're not ready for that lactic build that builds in your quads is insane to try to run after that. If you're not prepared
yeah.
for it, yeah, yeah. I
And
think it
how long you
depends on
fit?
the. Yeah. It depends on
Go.
the if you're open or pro weight for the sleds, and then it depends on your body weight. So, for an example, like I push in the pro, it'll be 175 kilos plus the sled, so 202 kilos. I'm 83 kilos, so I'm pushing 2.3 or 2.4 times my body weight. So
Yeah.
to be like, if you're a pro when you're coming in at 70 kilos and you're pushing like 2.8 times your body weight, it's a different game. Yeah,
Yeah, you're going to struggle.
fortunately for the runners who have a running background, the sleds seem to be getting easier. So it's different to when I first started. Sleds were a lot tougher, especially in America, but they seem to be getting faster. So it's sort of
Grass
that.
or the sled skids? What's changed?
I think sleds and the carpets. So
Mm,
I don't really know. Like I've spoke to in different forums as well with some of the Hyrox officials and at events and that, and they say they don't know why some courses are fast, some are not. But I can tell you at some events, the carpets will be newer and some carpets will be old on the same sort of venues. Yeah. On the same at the same venue. So it's like
which pushes faster, the older the new?
news faster, way faster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I tell you
you
what, I
you
saw
you you'll
some.
see them at venues. Yeah, when it's an old carpet and an old sled, you'll see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I train at Fitness First in the city, and they've got a few of them, and I can just go to different gyms, and virtually every sled track performs differently.
Yep.
I went into the gym, another one of their gyms the other day, and the sled track, like I put the standard weight I'd put on there, and I was just doing a bit of volume, and I could hardly move it. I went to another track the other day, put the same weight on, and I nearly fell over. It just took off on me, just the
Yeah,
difference. But
there's this. The carpets they use for Hyrox are the same. They come from the same place apparently, so they should be all the same. But it's just the wear and tear. I think it's the age of it. But now there's I think Centre, which is Hemsworth's company, Chris Hemsworth's company. They're supplying all the equipment now. So apparently,
correct,
from the
yeah,
feedback from some of the guys in America, they work well. Like they move fast. Um,
yeah.
so let's see. Like it's tough because they want uniformity and they want the same conditions for everyone. So let's see if once all the new equipment comes out, it might be like that. I don't know for how long, but yeah, I don't know if there's really an answer to how to make sure everything's even.
I tell you what I did see the other day, and I'm not too sure if you've seen this, but I don't know at what level of an athlete he is, but he was saying that at the sled track where he was pushing, he moved the sled an inch over off the existing tracks, and the sled went faster.
Yeah. Like
So there was a
yeah,
bit of space in the lane,
yeah.
and he said he was able to move it over and get the new carpet, and he said it went faster straight away.
Yeah. So if you once you've done a few of these venues and you've done a lot of these races, you can you can go to the venues, you can see where the track lines are, and you can just like watch the race before you, and you can see which lanes move faster. It's unfortunate,
Yeah,
and it's just a bit of um, you train to be able to handle it, and there is a little bit of luck involved in it. And
yeah,
it
sure.
is it is what
That
it is. Yeah.
and that'll get better, as you said. I think this event, it's still so new; it's just going to keep improving. Um,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you do for leg strength for pushing the sled? Do you think you need to be able to squat heavy? I mean, I hear people talking about deadlifting and squatting all the time just to. I don't know if I necessarily agree. I was still squatting pretty heavy when I did Hyrox, and I must admit I felt pretty good. I don't know that you need to be able to deadlift for any of these exercises personally, but people get obsessed with being able to move big weights.
Yeah, I think the base sort of the absolute strength still needs to be quite high, especially if you're going to do pro. Um, like if you some of these sled pulls, like dudes are still taking 4 or 5 minutes now to move that 50 meters. It must be heavy for you to have to be able to do it that time. Yeah. So like when I first started, I was squatting 3 times a week. I just looked around other sports and I was trying to find out which sports I could grab their training and apply it to this. Now
Hmm.
I based my strength off like rugby players, so I was doing like their movements like 5x5s, and they'll hit 3x5s. They'll hit that 3 times a week to maintain their strength. So I was like, okay, when I'm in season, this is what I'll do. Uh, and my sled pushes were quite good for early on. And then I started working for coach last year, and I didn't I didn't squat much at all. I did for a little bit, and then we removed it, and then my running improved, and I was getting better results. So it made me think like, do I need my squat? I don't know. So basically, I removed it from a lot of my training. I was just doing it once a week, and then in October, November last year, I started having some issues with my glute, my hip. I've got one leg shorter than the other by quite a lot. It's like nearly 3 centimeters. So I've got to wear heel raise, and I used to have to get my shoes when I was an athlete when I was younger. I used to have to get my shoes sent away, and I used to cut it and put the heel raise in.
Mm.
But joining the military, I couldn't have that, so I just went back to not having one. And years of imbalances, I guess, have got me into a position where if my glutes and my hips aren't strong when I'm running for long periods of time, I've just got to I start to wear down, and I developed an issue with my glute hip. Now I've started squatting more. It's like it almost feels like it's bulletproof to a little bit. So I can handle the impacting and running fast for long periods of time again, not just having to do intervals and stuff. So I'm going to be keeping squatting at 2 times a week back in my programming. But that's basically squatting, lunges, and sled push heavy. That's for moving forward. Yeah, like concentric movements. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent, and as a sprinter, even though I'm kind of your weight, I'm 80 kilos, 81, and 6 foot. Well, I'm calling with 6 foot. I've shrunk a bit. I'm just under 6 foot now.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm saying
and
6 foot. Yeah.
I've always squatted heavy weights. I just enjoy squatting. Um, but if I don't, I'm just trying to run more at the moment, get my run fitness up, and I'm finding it's really hard to squat with my quads are staying so sore after running, and I'm just really struggling to deal with those squats, particularly in heavy weight. And when I'm not in a strong position, I can have lower back tendencies. I just collapse in that lower back when I just lose concentration or I'm a little bit fatigued. So I've been a little bit nervous, but I do feel better when I'm
It's
squatting.
tough. It's tough
Yeah,
because like I was basing squatting 3 times off and quite heavy off for rugby players, but rugby players they run and they're doing just like fartlek training, yeah. So
correct.
it's different to what we're doing, where we're going out for 60 minutes, 90 minutes hitting the pavement. The wear and tear on that is huge. And then we're trying to, and then I was trying to lift like a rugby player who isn't going to be able to do what I do in the run. Each of us are differently, and we can handle different amounts. But I know that the more I run, the longer a distance. When I get up to 80, 90 Ks a week, it's hard to squat. Like my quads will
Yeah,
feel like they're going to cramp all the time. I'm at about 60, 70 kilometers now, and I'll be reducing it from a race, but that seems to be work well with my squatting still. But then do you squat in the morning and then run in the afternoon? Do you run in the morning, squat in the afternoon? And it really depends on what you're trying to achieve. It's tough to sort of get this balance in there.
It is really tough. There is some science and some data at the moment, and there's a particular science coach, and I think he's based up in Norway, and I just recently found him on YouTube. He's got a really innocuous channel. He's hardly got any followers, but he's actually really smart. He's doing some really interesting testing, and he's on his testing showing at the moment, as long as you're having more than 6 hours between your run session and your heavy session, you will normally adapt. He said any closer than that, the body is actually not improving. He said, but that 6 hour break, and I would kind of concur with that. I can actually do a double session in a day in my mid-50s. If I wait 24 hours, I'm actually worse.
Yeah.
I could run in the morning quite hard and then squat later that day. But if I run today and try to squat tomorrow morning, I'm actually worse.
Yeah, a lot of this is how I was trained now. Like I'll do a lot of my heart. The last couple of weeks hasn't been so much. Like I'm going to go and squat this afternoon to finish off my strength before I start tapering. But if I do all my hard stuff on one day, and then I have an easy day the next day, and then I'll hard day the next day. So I'll put my body under stress majority of the time on one day, 3 days a week, and always have that gap in between. But the way I've sort of trained recently, I've been able to get my strength up because I've got a competition I'm going to be doing, and I've got to be able to squat for 3 minute max 3 minute squats with 100 kilos. So I needed to I got to raise my ceiling. So I actually pushed my strength up with all the running I've been doing, and I'd tell you, it was hard work, tough. It's to be able to get it's lucky that I've got a background where my squat was a lot heavier when I was in the military, so I can, a bit of muscle memory, but it's not like I'm trying to go to a new level. Like I've already been there before, so I can get it up. But if you've never been to had you squatted a certain number of deadlift, and you're trying to do that with all the other stuff you're doing, it's not. You're really not gonna. It's gonna be tough.
Yeah,
tough to move that needle.
How many reps do you think you're going to do for 3 minutes?
I don't know. I've just.
Are you allowed to pause at the top? What's the deal?
Yeah, you can rest for it. You can rest. You put the bar up and then get it off. It's actually a competition which Hunter is involved in. So it's Code Games. So it's actually based off like military first responder stuff. So there's a test to sort of enter it, and then they'll take the top guys. But the first responder military background sort of style events will sort of suit me if I can get through, because a lot of it's longer duration type stuff. But I don't know. Like I wanted to get my squat back up to 130 kilo for like 5 reps, and I managed to be able to do this. So now I need to start. I'll go down lower and just do more reps. But if you're not prepared for 3 minutes of squats at that weight, you're going to do some serious damage.
Yeah, that's ugly.
I don't know what I'll be able to do. I don't know. I need to. Yeah. I've got about a month, so I'm not too sure.
I've got a couple more questions, and I'll let you go. I don't want to keep you too long. You work as a PT now. You work as a coach as well.
Yeah. I train some people face to face, and then I've got athletes online as well.
For Hyrox or just?
Yeah, mainly Hyrox now. I do have a few other, I guess, people who want to achieve different things as well, but it's mainly Hyrox now. I started out doing other stuff, but I suppose how well I went in Hyrox, it's sort of naturally. And at the start I was training myself, and then I actually worked with Hunter last year, so I've got a bit more knowledge now, and I get to pass on that to other people as well. So, it's pretty much Hyrox athletes.
I like to ask people this question all the time. And do you think it makes you a better coach being an athlete?
At the start, I would have said at the start, like I would have thought to be a coach in this game, I would have had to have been a good athlete, because I need to understand the time. I need to understand the energy system requirements. I need to understand what I'm giving the athletes. I need to understand what is actually required. So like if I write out a session, I need to know that it's achievable and so it was actually hard for me to go, okay, I can do at the start, I can do this, so they should be able to do it. It's just not really the case, yeah.
No, it's not. That's not realistic, right?
I've got some athletes who have worked up to my volume now, and they want to be elite. So it's like, okay, I'll get you to my level, but someone wanted to go there pretty much straight away. I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been doing, even though you've got a background and I started this 18 months, 2 years ago. So give me some time and like, I'll get you up to where I am. But even then I'm still a bit nervous about giving them that amount. But now I've got a bit more knowledge and experience. Like I actually listened to a podcast the other day and it was on triathlon. And they had the coach of what's those Nordic guys who do really well.
He's the best. Yeah.
And he was on he does it. He has a bit of an athlete background, but he's more of a management and this sort of coach. Yeah.
He's an engineer by qualification. He's all about data. He's obsessed with it.
It was really interesting listening to it. I'm like he had a bit of an athlete background, but it's more management and dealing relationships and stuff like this and understanding, getting the right people in the room. So yeah, I don't know. I think they both go. Yeah.
I think I was a reasonably good masters coach. Had a couple of good athletes in the masters. Just all my guys were at Australian level. A couple of them went to national level. One of my buddies who I coached, he now coaches himself. A bit older, he's 57. He still runs 53 for a 400 though. He's currently second or third in the world at over 400. And and I was fortunate enough. I coached an Olympic bobsled athlete through the 2008 Olympics. And that was an interesting thing. He just read me tonight. He's still a big unit. He's 100 kg, 6'1", 6'2".
He'd be good on sled push.
Yeah, well, tonight he was doing sets of 5 at 180 kilos.
Yeah.
He's a unit and a half.
Yeah, nice.
He's trying to bench press 160 at the moment. He's at 155, something he said. But for me personally, it made me a much better coach understanding. I don't think I could have ever coached 400 training because I just knew how much, like those sessions, what you're saying before, how much pain they brought on. And then also, all of a sudden, I understood certain athletes didn't have the mental capacity to do certain sessions. They were still really good athletes, but they just didn't have the same mental capacity as somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the lines get blurred between the science of coaching and the art. And I think coaching is very much an art. But I always refer to Usain Bolt's coach, probably one of the best sprint coaches in the world. Big stomach out here, stood on the sidelines and blew a whistle. Never run a day in his life. Amazing coach.
Yeah, I think like my athletic coach when I was younger. So he was Colin Smith. His name was. He was a English. He was born in the UK, but he got a Commonwealth silver, I think it was, in javelin. And so he was a really good coach. He got me ever since when I was quite young to I was a youth, and we qualified for the World Youth at under 18 for World Champs. So we did quite well. And but his wife, Brenda, she was a running coach, but she never really did running. Yeah, but she was a really good running coach. So they were husband and wife, but she never really ran. But she had some good level athletes who nationals and stuff like this, but she never run. Yeah, so I think you got to have experience, or you got to be around. Your knowledge has got to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think Hyrox is interesting at the moment. I think, as you said, because it is so different. However, I think there's so much data available now. We can wear so much equipment, get feedback. We can, take, blood samples when someone's actually working out and look at lactate levels and all these sorts of things. So, and that's where those Norwegians, they're just a class above everybody at the moment. The track runners, the triathletes, it's ridiculous how far ahead they are.
Yes, optimization, and it's like you've got the resources, and you got, like you can put these protocols in place and test and adjust, and for a lot of us, we're just sort of, we're just going by feel, and
exactly
copying other people and trying to piece it together, and just doing the best we can,
which is part of the fun. A couple more recovery protocols. Do you have any particular things that you do for recovery?
I need to do more. Mobility is a bit of an issue for me. My stretching, like I'm going through a bit of a phase now. I'm trying to open up my stride. So my angle of running when I with my femur and then my back's my driving leg is quite narrow. It's not very open, so it's just I've just got so many imbalances and tightness and all that around the hips. I'm trying to open that up more because I know it will make me a better runner, so I don't have to overstride so much. I don't do cold plunges. I don't do sauna. I see a physio once a week, and that's definitely helped me a lot. Just because I had the first 12 months, I had so many issues, just trying to do too much. But now I do. I've just kept that as just a practice where I just I just keep doing that. But pretty much a physio once a week, and that's pretty much about it. Yeah, I'd like to de-stress more.
Yeah. Food wise, you like really focus on your food?
Yep. So to be honest, like I don't really focus on quality that much. I focus on hitting the numbers. The first 12 months I did it wrong, and I was eating eating for aesthetic purposes. I think a lot of people make this mistake, and I was basically eating like 350 grams of carbs a day, yeah, which is it's like 4 grams per kilogram, and I thought that was a lot. Nowhere near enough. Nowhere near enough. So I got really ripped. So I got lean. I looked good, but I was just nowhere near giving myself the energy. Yeah? And I was just eating myself. I was always just catabolic. So then once I got in a little bit more knowledgeable and started seeing what everyone else was doing and did some research and realized my carbs needed to be way higher. So basically I'll track food now, but it's just to make sure that I hit my numbers. Yeah. So I've lost a bit of my physique, but I don't really care now. Like for performance, it's a different beast. It's it's totally different. People need to understand that if you're going to do Hyrox and you're going to train like a long distance runner while doing strength and high intensity work, you better be fueling, or you get to the point where you'll just you'll get injured, you'll get sick, you're unmotivated, you'll have hormone issues, you'll fall apart.
Yeah, 100%. Shoes. What's your shoe sort of technique for Hyrox? What's your favorite shoe? What shoe are you using?
Right now, I race with Saucony Endorphins. So, for the first year, I was running with Brooks Launch 9, I think they are. And they were low profile. I didn't really know much about shoes. I know they grip well and I trained in them, so I raced in them. And then when I did my first elite race, I was the only one wearing those style of shoe, and I seen the difference. And then as soon as I finished that race, I went, "There's no way I'm not wearing these anymore. I need to get running shoes." So I literally would describe it as guys were when they were running, they were like bouncing, and I went, "I'm not the strongest runner in the field. I need some of these." So I bought some. It took me a while to find a pair because of my orthotics. It's quite tough to find one that would fit in it, and the Sauconys were the only ones where I could actually fit in it. So that's what I rolled with. Took me a little bit to adjust because they're so high and they angle you forward. So the balance took me a little while, but I'm used to it now. But you got to definitely be prepared for that.
Yeah, I've actually read a little bit about that. I'm just about to shift up to a different shoe myself. Are they carbon plate, those Endorphins?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just tossing up between the Pumas. I'll go and try some Pumas on. Mine will be more about foot fit. I don't like that sort of hole being pushed forward, but I'll see how I go with the two.
Yeah, play around with it. You got to get used to it. Like if doing wall balls, like I was constantly get hit in the head with the wall ball because my balance would go, and lunges you'll want to tip over. If you don't have much body weight, if you're on a sled pull on a pro, it'll pull you over. You need to have a bit of weight to actually ground yourself. But sled push, they're generally okay. But yeah, because it feels like you're on a board, like an elevated platform. You get a little bit left or right of that, and you sway. So you got to practice it. Yeah.
Yeah, they really are made for running, though, right? I mean, they've been designed as a running shoe to propel you forward.
Yeah, sure. The Pumas, like I've had a few pairs sent to me, and they my orthotic doesn't really fit in them, so and it squashes my feet.
A shame.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite colour pair of socks that you wear?
Right now, the only socks I can wear are these toe socks.
Oh,
The ones
okay.
with because I've got the corn on my because the orthotics and my feet get so squished in the shoe, they're rubbing and it's fucking painful. It's really
Yeah.
really. So they're at least with this toe socks they space them out so it's not so much friction. But
Yeah,
then
someone in a
uh,
friend of mine in the US. I only race in black socks. I created this thing for myself years ago, and I ended up only just
yeah
wearing black socks. And now, then all my squad only would race in black socks. So it got really weird. But after wearing sprint, spikes, you're spending 3 and 4 days a week in spikes. My toes are all stuck together like this, terrible. They're slowly starting to space out.
space
And
area.
a friend of mine in the US that does yoga, she put me onto those toe spacers. And I
Yeah.
couldn't believe like she can actually space her toes like this, and mine I can't move. And I started to wear them a bit, and I have to say they're better. I've stopped them now. I should start again. And then I
Yeah.
just bought wider shoes, particularly everyday shoes. I just had a wider toe box, and it's helped a lot.
Yeah. That wider toe box helps tremendously. Yeah, but I don't know if they can uh, create a shoe which is for running, which has the open sort of toe box. Like I don't know if that's
No,
possible. I don't know if it is, but that'd be something I'd be interested in. Especially
well
like
they do it.
I got wide feet, and it's tough. Yeah.
You know who does it though? And it's probably not ideal for Hyrox, but just as a running shoe, maybe your volume is that all. I think they're called All Trails or something trails. A lot of Americans, 'cause I live in the mountains, everyone wore
Yeah.
them for
Yeah.
trail
Okay.
running. And
For
the
trail
toe
running.
box,
Yeah.
the toe
Yeah.
box is actually very wide on those. They've
Yeah.
got
Okay.
tons of grip on the bottom for trail running, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably worth a look.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what happens over the next sort of 5 years with hybrid shoes because I know there's development going to be going on, and yeah, we're seeing what they can come up with.
100%.
Yeah,
Look what Noble did to the CrossFit sort of scene.
yeah, yeah,
Just developed a
yeah,
whole shoe for the whole. I love those shoes. I mean, that's what I squat in all the time.
yep,
Or I use a Nike Metcon,
yep,
but I used to love my Noble shoes. And I got them years and years ago when they first came out and weren't sort of that popular. But as
yep,
a shoe to actually, because they got that nice hard base to squat properly in.
yep. Yeah, it'd be good to see now that it's a bit. Hyrox is getting some more money, and the shoe companies are coming on now. So like Puma and I think is a one of the female elites. She's signed with Reebok. So it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen. Over the next sort
Interesting.
of,
Well,
5 years. Yeah.
Reebok remember they had CrossFit for years and they
Yeah.
lost them.
Yeah.
They had, I think even Reebok had the UFC in the early days and they lost it. So
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's
where
interesting.
can people find you online?
Yeah, basically, I pretty much just run Instagram. So Jon Wynn Fitness and Sobriety. I don't really use Facebook. It's Instagram is where I'm at. I share a lot of my training. The content is all sort of based around fitness and sobriety and that as well. So I've sort of got a mixture of followers who are in recovery or been through some hardships. So I get a combination of a lot of different
Nice.
people.
And you're still taking clients on and you'll take clients on globally?
I've slowed down a little bit because of my just how much I could take on because I've got face to face clients and I'm helping people in recovery as well. So I work in that space. So basically, the numbers I've got now, I'll hold off until June, and then I've got to reassess what I do moving forward. But the athletes I've got now, I'll take through this season, and then I've got to reassess. So you can reach out to me, but I probably won't be taking anyone on until I come up with my next plan moving forward at the end of June after World Champs.
Sure. People can follow your stuff online.
Yep.
All right, we'll wrap it up there.